You know, things were actually going okay for the live-action Avatar series on Netflix. We just got a Season 2 and 3 renewal, and there's room for improvement after Season 1. But then, this happened. What's going on, you guys? James here with some real news, and it is not happy news, Avatar fans. If you enjoyed the very first season of the live-action series on Netflix, well, the person behind it all has left. Now, this news comes from two sources today, from Variety and a friend of the channel, Caleb Williams from Night Edge Media, because there are some really important details that we need to talk about. We're going to get into why he left, who's replacing him, and what does this mean for the rest of the live action series on Netflix. But before we get into all those details, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and get loud down below in the comments, because the conversation really does start there, guys. How does this make you feel about seasons 2 and 3 of the live action series on Netflix? I'll let you know how I feel by the end of this video. So guys, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into the news. So yes, it is true, Albert Kim, the showrunner and creator for Netflix's live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series, is stepping down according to Variety. Now, I've also heard some other details that I can't really share because they're not necessarily out there like that, but let's just say this wasn't a shock to some people. Now, let's get into what was reported though, which is from the Variety article, and I quote, "Variety has learned that Albert Kim, who developed the series and served as showrunner on Season 1, is stepping down. Christine Boylan and Jabbar Rezani will lead the show as executive producers going forward." Now, if you don't know either of those two names, you might know what they've worked on, especially Christine Boylan, who was the co-executive producer on Netflix's The Punisher series, one that I really need to finish, right? Especially before Daredevil Born Again. But there's a little bit more context to who they are in the Variety article, and I quote, "Boylan served as co-executive producer on Season 1 of Last Airbender, while Rezani was an executive producer, director, and a VFX supervisor. Albert Kim will remain on board as a executive producer for Seasons 2 and 3. So Albert Kim isn't totally detached from the rest of this series on Netflix. However, when you see EP credits or producer credits, that doesn't necessarily mean they're heavily involved. And that's the thing here. I believe Albert Kim's name is going to be on the executive producer list, but I mean, when you guys hear what I'm about to tell you about why he left, there's not much room for him to be very active on set. So why did Albert Kim leave? Well, according to Variety, they said, and I quote, "According to an individual with knowledge of the situation, Kim wanted to explore new opportunities following the multi-year development process on Last Airbender and has signed a deal with Disney to work as an executive producer on the Percy Jackson series while also developing new projects for that company." So as you know, it took a long time to get Season 1 out there into the world. It took several years. What was it? 3-4 years? So yeah, he had another opportunity with Disney, and he thought to himself, well, if I'm showrunner for Seasons 2 and 3, there's no way I can devote myself to not only just Percy Jackson, but now other productions and new projects for Disney. So basically, if I'm going to put this into layman's terms, Albert Kim went for the bag. But it makes me wonder, when in the process did he know this was going to happen, and did the cast and crew also know? Because if they did, I'd imagine that would make things a little awkward on set. But this next detail from Caleb Williams over at Night Edge Media leaves me wondering if his departure, Albert Kim's departure, causes a bigger ripple effect for Seasons 2 and 3. So let's get into his little part of the article, which was a good one, and I quote, "With Kim exiting the series, it is assumed that his daughter and fellow screenwriter Emily Kim may not return either. This is a shame considering she helped co-write the best episode of the first season, episode 6, Masks. It's also unknown if director and frequent Albert Kim collaborator Michael Goy will return for the next 2 seasons now that Kim has stepped away." So you have two talented people on that cast and crew, or within the cast and crew, that are probably going to now leave because Albert Kim is not attached. That seems to be the case when showrunners leave in the middle of productions like this. People that came for Albert Kim now are leaving because of Albert Kim, and it makes sense. And you have to imagine Christine Boylan and Jabbar Raizani are going to want people of their own. So man, this just puts a cog into all this nonsense, an extra cog, and it just makes life a little bit more difficult for seasons 2 and 3 in the production. Caleb Williams also wrote, and I quote, "We have also been notified that Netflix may give each subsequent season a lower episode count to increase the number of views each season receives. However, this is not set in stone." So if they go from, 8 episodes in season 1 to maybe 6 in seasons 2 and 3, I don't know, y'all, because the viewership wasn't bad. It was actually pretty darn good. So why decrease that and then also risk stuffing even more into the already bloated episodes at times from season 1, where they were just rushing through storylines? So I don't know if that would be a great idea if they go that route. So the reason why Albert Kim stepping down is such a shock to me is because of how well the show did in terms of viewership numbers, because according to The Hollywood Reporter, during its premiere week, it had 2.56, that's 2.56, guys, billion minutes of viewing in the United States over its first 4 days, which is nuts. And even recently, as of April 2nd, Variety reports that Avatar: The Last Airbender still has that number 5 position in the top 10 on Netflix with 2.4 million views. So it's still popular, it's still getting lots of eyes on it. I don't think Albert Kim leaving was a result of the viewership numbers. I think it truly was, now that I think about everything, because he had another opportunity that he wanted to pursue and that he valued more than Avatar: The Last Airbender. And this news is shocking considering Netflix recently renewed Avatar: The Last Airbender for a second and third season, because we have to round out Aang's story just like the original series. Now this renewal happened on March 6th, but then I think on March 6th, did they also still know that Albert Kim was going to step down? Because you don't just step down, work on Percy Jackson, and happen like this. That takes time. So yeah, I don't feel confident about this. So let me get into my thoughts now. Like, Albert Kim stepping down, 2 new producers stepping up. What's going to be the fate in the future of Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix? I do not think the cast is going to change. We're still going to have Aang and the gang stay the same. The casting is too good. I am nervous though, because the creative direction changes. Like, that will change. Will the tone shift? Possibly. I can see it shifting. Will the screenwriters that maybe both new producers bring on board change the landscape of the show? Quite possibly. But remember, just like in the original series, season 1, book 1, was not the strongest. So books 2 and 3 were better, and it just kept getting better and better. That's what I'm hoping for in this instance. But when you change your showrunner completely, that's like taking out Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko and just saying, we're going to go with somebody else in the original series. That might have collapsed the entirety of that foundation in the original series that we love. So seeing Albert Kim leave now is concerning. I'm sure a lot of you are reacting the same as I saw on X, which was, well, panic, and I think it's justified. So I'm not 100% confident that season 2 will deliver, because even if there are slight improvements in areas of concern in season 2, we now have to think, well, there are 2 new producers, 2 new showrunners, right? For season 2, we got to give them a little grace and give them time. But see, here's the thing. That would have been the case if it was a season 1, which we've already done with Albert Kim. But now that Albert Kim's gone and 2 new showrunners step up, you know, we only got 1 more season after that with book 3. So the runway is shorter and shorter, and it just does not inspire lots of confidence in me. But again, I want to know what you guys have to say and what you think of this news, because it is shocking as an Avatar fan that Albert Kim has stepped down as showrunner. We got 2 new showrunners, but will they do the job, and will it be an improvement? That's what I'm hoping for in season 2. but I am just a little nervous now. So let me know in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoy news breakdowns like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because yes, we're covering Avatar Season 2, and yes, we're going to be covering The Dragon Prince, many more movies as the year goes on, and so much more. So you don't want to miss out. Go ahead and join the real family. And again, I'm thankful for your guys' support. God bless you guys. And listen, if this news disrupts your day, I'm so sorry. Alrighty, y'all. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.